It's going to be fascinating because a lot of it's going to come down to some of these SEC tiebreakers, which were announced earlier this week. We'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Jay, we got SEC tiebreakers now. Finally, in the 16-team conference with no divisions, it's going to be a little bit of the Wild West, especially as we get to November. And we have bracketology for March Madness. We're starting to get bracketology for the college football playoff. I imagine we're going to start seeing a lot of tiebreaker scenario posts coming out from various media sites when we get to October, November, as they try to figure out who might be representing in the SEC title game. So let's look real quick here at the first three tiebreaker rules here. So first of all, it's going to come down to head-to-head. Easy. If there's two teams that are tied and you got to break the tiebreaker, and that's all it is those two teams, break it by head-to-head. Next, if the head-to-head doesn't work, you go to record versus common opponents. Okay, did Texas and Oklahoma, who all did they play that matches up? Well, then you go to common opponents there, and then records versus the best teams in the conference. This one, Jay, I think is going to be really, really interesting because not all schedules are created equal here. So nope. Texas, they're going to have a little bit favorable schedule, but if Oklahoma beats them, that will look really, really nice on their resume. Even if Texas goes and rattles off, 7 conference wins and their 1 loss is to Oklahoma, that could look really good for the Sooners.
It could. And having a favorable schedule is probably one of the best things that's happened to Oklahoma. Now we just, like I say, we got to go out and execute and actually win those games. And these rules are interesting. I like the fact that they're out now and we don't anticipate there'll be any changes. But man, when you get to this second half, oh boy.
Yeah, things get a little bit wild here. So let's take a look at that cumulative SEC win percentage. So it's going to be broken down to the teams that have the best winning percentage against some of those teams. Then we look at scoring margin versus the SEC. That's going to be capped, it says, and I'm curious for a little bit more explanation on that. And then finally, you get to random draw. And this feels like a scene out of Friday Night Lights where you had the 3 teams that were tied and they had to do a coin flip to eliminate 2 teams. Man, I hope we do not get to the random draw because that would be, or maybe I do, because that would be fantastic content.
Oh my God. What are you talking about? Yeah. What are you talking about? We need that. We need that. Inject that in our veins. We need that in our life. That's the reason. That's the one I want. Give me the coin toss, the random draw, the drawing straws, whatever you want to call it. Give that to me because that is going to be an hilarious moment, especially on the X-Bird. Everybody going to lose their minds online about that. That's going to be the fun part. And the funny thing is, and the one reason why we decided to have this as one of the topics is, I don't think a lot of you fans understand that this is going to come up within the next couple of years. Like, not that a tiebreaker is going to come up. We're going to hit F. It's going to be weird that we're going to hit F. And I think what it is when it comes to the cap portion of it, and I'm glad they're doing that, it eliminates the ability to go against Vanderbilt and beating them 85-0 and think that's going to actually help you, right? Because that's what's going to happen. In all of these games, these teams are going to try to blow each other out. Similar to the Baylor situation against us a couple years ago. They're going to use that as a way to try to make sure that they maximize their opportunity when it comes to the tiebreaker. But if they cap it, it makes it a lot tougher to go up and run the score up. At that point, you're just trying to win the game. You're not going to be thinking about all the access points you can get because you only get so much credit regardless. And so I am curious too, like you. I want to see when they give us that number. But the biggest thing here, we're going to see F. F may happen this year, and it's going to be hilarious. Actually, I want F. Give me F. Give me F. Give me F.
That's out of context, Locked On Podcast Network right there. If we get to F, the very next year we'll have divisions back.
Yep.
I guarantee it. Because Greg Sankey is not going to want his conference title matchup decided by a random draw. I knowing Greg Sankey, I mean, it must have hurt him to be able to have to put that in there. This is the dude that thinks through everything, thinks through all the scenarios, all the logical outcomes. And then when it comes down to it, you're just like, I don't know, F it. We just got to figure out. Yeah, we just got to figure out who it is. We'll just put all the names in a hat and draw one out. Man, like you said, the Bird app will not go well on that day. You might want to log off if you don't want to enjoy, or if you don't want to be a part of the toxicity that will happen in college football.
Oh my God.
Not just within the SEC, but the rest of college football, just watching the chaos unfold. So, man, I don't know. It's going to be chaos, because there will be a bunch of teams. If there might be a Georgia that sits there as kind of the obvious number one seed, but there might be 3 or 4 number twos that are tied, and they're trying to figure out, okay, who goes and is now the second participant in the SEC title game. I mean, it could be a number of players. It could be a number of teams, and Oklahoma could very well be one of those teams if they're able to, pick up some big wins on the road and defend their home field.
Yeah, I imagine that every conference is probably going to go to something similar to this. At least they're going to announce something, right? Because with the Big Ten having like almost 20 teams, they have 18 teams. The Big 12 having 16 teams. They're going to run into the exact same problem, right? Mm-hmm. This is going to become an issue because you're going to have numerous teams, especially without divisions. You're going to have numerous teams that are going to finish 11-1, 10-2, 9-3, whatever their records end up being. But the way that these conferences are set, it's guaranteed to, it's basically inviting chaos. It's like it's almost purposely doing it. So then at that point, we'll end up getting our Super League and everything's going to change in 2 years. But we need F this year so bad.
Yeah, chaos creates controversy, and controversy creates clicks, and clicks creates advertising dollars.
Yep.
So make sure you click to subscribe to Locked On Sooners wherever you get your podcasts, for free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Also, go join us on the Locked On Sooners Insider Program, where we take your questions, answer your thoughts on everything Oklahoma Sooners, from football to recruiting to softball, basketball, whatever it is. Also, side note, Bedlam basketball happening in Oklahoma City, December 14. The cooler heads have prevailed, or are prevailing, which gives me a little bit of optimism that Bedlam will come back at some point down the road. But again, go join us on the Locked On Sooners Insider Program. If you're like Jay and you want to complain about how Bedlam doesn't need to come back, and you want to get Nebraska back on the schedule on a regular basis, then hit us up. Locked On Sooners at 405-817-6711. Subscribe for your first month with 25% off by using code SEC2024. You also get 2 free weeks as well. We will chat with you about any topic on the Oklahoma Sooners or college football in general. Again, that's 405-817-6711 to get 25% off your first month by using our promo code SEC2024. Follow Jay on Twitter at Unfair Sports, myself at John 9 Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners, wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is. Go check us out, Locked On Sooners. And also go check out the Locked On College Football podcast. From NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors, Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. You can find the link to Locked On College Football in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. But for Jay Smith, I'm John Williams. We'll catch you next time. Boomer
Sooner.